Hello, everyone. Welcome to Teaching Hour with me, Ambassador Wyatt. Go get your pen, pencil, paper, or pad because this is Teaching Hour. Hello, and welcome back to Teaching Hour with Ambassador Wyatt. Let's get right into today's lesson. Today, we are talking about when. But let's take a look at two accounts in the Gospels of Mark and Matthew when Jesus told them to get into the boat and he would meet them on the other side. So Mark chapter 6 verses 45 through 50 reads, "And straightway he constrained his disciples to get into the boat and to go to the other side before unto Bethsaida. When he sent away the people, and when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when evening was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And he saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the fourth watch of the night, he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed them by. But when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit, and cried out, for they all saw him, and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them, and saith unto them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid." So let's open up some of these verses so you can see. And it reads, "And straightway he constrained his disciples to get into the boat." This tells us there was a need for immediate action in Bethsaida. The word straightway means straight without unnecessary zigzags or detour or straight directions. The word constraint means compel or force someone to follow a particular course of action. Here is the Lord Jesus' course of direction. Get into the ship, go to the other side before unto Bethsaida, go ahead of Jesus or before him to the shore of Bethsaida. Next, and it reads, "And he saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the fourth watch of the night, he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed by." Now, if you read this too fast, you missed a whole lot of revelation. I'm going to say that again. If you read this too fast, you missed a whole lot of revelation. First thing is he saw them toiling and rowing. Who saw the disciples toiling and rowing? Jesus. This word saw means to see, look upon, or perceive. Toiling means a tormenting trial, to examine by using torture. Here's the thing. Jesus is now off the mountain on the land, and the ship is in the middle of the sea, and it's dark. But Jesus can see them struggling. Think about this for a moment. He got off the mountain. He's on the land or, at the shore, and it's dark. Now it's dark. But he could see them struggling, trying to, use the oars to move about. So I want you to think about that for a moment. Again, it's dark. He's on the shore. They're actually in the middle of the sea, and it's dark, but he can see them. Again, think about that. So why were the disciples toiling and rowing? Well, because the wind was contrary unto them. Wind, this means just a gust of air, a storm-like force, like someone bent in a particular direction. The word contrary means to set against. Then it goes on to read and says, about the fourth watch of the night, he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea. Listen, y'all, this is my favorite part. Here come Jesus to the rescue. I'm going to say that again. This is my favorite part because here come Jesus to the rescue. Now, again, don't read so fast because there is a colon, a punctuation mark in between the words unto them and about. It means to ask a question. And the question is, so what did Jesus do? The next part tells us about the fourth watch of the night. He cometh unto them walking upon the sea. The word about means around. Fourth means time, specifically when the Bible specifically says about the fourth watch or, the fourth time, it means between the hours of 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. The word watch means here to preserve by having an eye on, to keep watch over, to keep secure. This refers to a shepherd keeping his flock. Him walking on the water tells us he has all power over all creation. All things are under his feet. Jesus is Lord over all. Remember that. Jesus is Lord over all. This is why we shouldn't freak out when things happen. Don't forget, Jesus is Lord over all. So with this in mind, wind may come up against you, but keep in mind your obedience to his word is the key to the blessing. See, the Lord have his eye on you, even through your darkest hours. He watches over you and knows your struggles, and he is always on time. Now, this is the most important part the Lord wants you to get from Mark chapter 6, verse 49, part B. It reads, and would have passed by them. See, he intended to pass by them, but somebody was ready and willing to act in faith. Now, I'm going to say this again, but before I say this again, here's revelation, because in Mark chapter 6, verse 49, it says again, and he would have passed by them. Think about that. But not only think about that, I'm getting ready to give you the revelation of this. So he intended to pass by them, but somebody was ready and willing to act in faith. How do we know this? Because it said would have. It said would have. Would means to express an intention or plan. Have means own or possess. So when you put these two, or when you put these together, it means he had a plan and intended to do something. Lastly, it says in Mark chapter 6, verses 49 and 50, but when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit and cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked with them and saith unto them, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. So Jesus right here first had to calm them internally. He had to calm, C-A-L-M, calm them internally. This is where the Gospel of Matthew fills in the gap for us about Peter walking on the water. So let's go to Matthew chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 28 to 31. Because we just left Mark chapter 6, verses 49 and 50. And we left off knowing that Jesus had to calm them internally. So Matthew fills the gap for us to tell us about Peter walking on the water. So now, again, let's go to Matthew chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 28 through 31. And it reads, "And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be you, bid me come unto thee on the water. And Jesus said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid and beginning to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" Stay with me. Peter says in Matthew, Lord, if that's you, command me to come out on the water. Now you need to understand, Peter asked the Lord. He asked him to come out on the water. Jesus said, come. So let me give you some revelation again. Peter asked Jesus to command him to come to him on the water. Jesus said again, one word, come. The word come is capitalized. Let me tell you why. Because Jesus kept echoing it to Peter. So for you, if you ask the Lord anything according to his will, make sure faith is present. Oh, by the way, this is the reason why Jesus did not pass by the disciples from Mark 6, verse 49. Faith was present. This should be a lesson for you. When faith is there, the Lord will stop what he intends to do to answer the call of faith. When we ask the Lord for something according to him, we have to do it in faith. Peter asked Jesus. Jesus said, come. But when your wind arrives, be steadfast in faith in the words of Jesus and keep repeating it to yourself like the woman with the issue of blood until the job is finished. Don't let the wind bend you in another direction. Speak the word given to you. Align your mind with the words of Christ and keep it that way. This is the most important part, or here's the most important part the Lord wants you to get from Matthew chapter 14. So Matthew chapter 14:30 reads, but when he saw the wind boisterous, talking about Peter, he was afraid and beginning to sink. He cried, saying, Lord, save me. Now, this is not a new wind or something, the wind wasn't just boisterous that first time. The wind was blowing strongly the whole time. So now this is not a new wind. It was boisterous again the whole time. So the word saw means to look at, but internally with the mind, and have a sense of feeling from an outside source. The word wind means gust of air. The word boisterous means active, noisy. See, this is what happened. Peter started thinking about the wind. Then he was afraid. One side in his mind, he saw him walking on the water, but the other side, thinking about the wind, was active. This is him doubting. The word doubting means double standing, going two sides, or shifting between positions. So Peter had faith at first, but what he did was doubt it. He looked at the wind thinking it was much more powerful than the word of God. His mind was at first consistent with hearing the voice of Jesus. Then all of a sudden he began to visualize in his mind about the wind being strong and gusty, which in turn caused him to stop thinking about the word of the Lord and stop hearing the word of the Lord, which made him doubt. So he saw the word, heard the word in his mind, but Peter doubted. So whenever the Spirit of God or the Spirit of the Lord gives you a command and a word or a word that continue to echo, that's authoritative. Don't think, just do and say. I'm going to say that again. Whenever the Spirit of the Lord gives you a command, an authoritative word, and the word, and it keep echoing, don't think, just do and say. And say it at the same time, so that the miraculous will happen, or the miraculous will of the word will happen. In conclusion, the Lord told the disciples not to be afraid because he is with them. Likewise, remember, and I'm going to stress that right now, remember, the Lord is with you all the time. Not only is he with you, he also sees you in every way. So when you are active on the word of the Lord, when there is wind, remember the Lord is there too. Just keep thinking, speaking, and acting on the word of the Lord. Trust me, you will be glad you did. This concludes Teaching Hour with Ambassador Wyatt. And remember, Jesus is Lord.